We've had a lot of problems tonight getting the stream started. Not sure why. But we'll get there. We'll get there, I think. Unless it's just one of those things again. And, okay. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, I think this is it. Is it going to start? Yes. Okay, we're in service, I believe. All right. Here you go. Link to stream. All right. Hello, everybody. Tim back here from Piano Lessons on the Web. Struggling to get things started today, but today we are doing the ultimate review for beginner piano students. So how is everybody else doing? I know I'm running around like a mouse in a maze, but I'm doing okay. All right. We got Marie here. Okay, ready? I have my keyboard with me. Perfect. Who else is out here today? Anybody new? I mean, Marie, I believe, is new. Welcome out. And we are meeting again, I'm pretty sure on Sunday. It's a little bit up in the air, but I'm pretty sure that we're meeting on Sunday as well. All right, Marie, I will definitely go slow here. Well, I'll try to go slow. What you want to do is after the lesson, I'm going to give you a link to a playlist in which you can watch, that'll walk you through slower. Today's purpose of the lesson is to kind of go quickly to a point. I mean, I'll go slow as I can, but like I said, I'll give you a link at the end. So if you're like confused on anything, you can go through it a bit slower after that. Hey, we got Gerald here. Welcome out, Gerald. So happy to have you with us. I never have the time you're live, so sorry about that. That's okay. We are live 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time usually. Here you go. Let me show you guys something here while we're getting things ready. Although we're almost ready already. So if you go to my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com, go to the community tab at the top and scroll down a bit, and you can see what we're going to be talking about over the next couple of weeks or so. And I'll fill out more calendar events as we get going along. So if you want to attend on a regular basis, that's probably the way to do it. Hey, David, yo. Hello, Hunter. We've got a lot of new students today, which is fantastic. So happy to see that. All right, let me get, excuse me, let me get the Facebook stream started, and then we're going to get on with the lesson. So just give me a second. Should take less than a minute or so. Oh no, you gotta be kidding me. Yeah, hold on guys. Hold on. Well, we're not doing the Facebook stream. Not tonight anyway. Sorry, guys. Sorry, everybody on Facebook. Hopefully you can figure out how to get over here. All right, we're going to get started here despite all of the setbacks, but we're doing good. All right, hello, everybody. Hello, Gina. Gina. All right, here we go. Let me do this. Whether you're a beginner just starting out or you're someone who needs a nice quick review of all the topics beginners need to know to begin starting to play and succeeding at piano, you're in the right place. Your piano teacher, Tim, here, and the first thing I want to show you about... Let me try that again. Your piano teacher, Tim, here, and the first thing you want to learn on the piano is how the piano is laid out. Man, sorry, let me try it one more time. Your piano teacher, Tim, here, and the first thing you're going to want to learn on the piano is the layout and where certain notes are located. So here on the piano, we have the most obvious thing is white keys and black keys. Except for the very first set, there should be a pattern. Actually, you can't even really see mine until right here. There's going to be a pattern of 2 black keys, 3 black keys, 2 black keys, 3 black keys, 2, 3, all the way up the piano. And like I said, if you have a full-size 88 key, there's going to be 1 black key all the way at the bottom. Okay, so why do you have to know this? Well, the great thing about understanding how the keyboard's laid out like this is you can determine what the notes are depending on where they are in relation to the 2 black keys and the 3 black keys. So for instance, you've probably heard middle C, teachers and students, piano students talk about middle C. So you go to the middle of the piano, you play the group of 2 black keys, and C is always down and to the left of the left one in that group of 2. That's always C, no matter where it is on the piano. So as you can see, by identifying where these are from sight, there's a group of 2, and then there's C. You can find all the C's on the piano a lot easier. So just like the alphabet, what's after C in the alphabet? D, right? What's before C in the alphabet? B. So you can count either forwards or backwards in the alphabet from C. If you really want to do that, I have a better strategy for you. But let me explain the musical alphabet first. So here's C, here's B, here's A. So here's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then is this H? No, it's A again. So the musical alphabet goes around in a circle from A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so forth. So just keep in mind there are no note Qs, no note Zs, no notes of any other kind. All right, now what I recommend you do, instead of counting up and down from C, because that will take a long time, you can do that at first if you want. What I recommend you do is memorize where each of these notes are in relation to the 2 and 3 groups of black keys. So for instance, D is always in the middle of that group of 2. So what I want you to do is go on your keyboard and first find all the C's. But after you do that, then work on finding all the D's. They're always in the middle here. They're very easy to find, just like that. E is to the right of that group of 2, right to the right one. And E is always in the same place, just like C and just like D. That's why this is so helpful. F, now I would look at relation in the group of 3 black keys, since that's what it's closest to. So F is down and to the left of that group of 3. You can find all the F's like that. So practice finding all those notes. And then G is between the bottom left 2 in the group of 3. It's always in the same place. I think you get the idea. A is between the top 2 in the group of 3. And then B is to the right of those. So let's practice finding a few notes together. Let's find the note D. Well, you probably remembered that D is right in the middle of that group of 2. So what I want you to do as a practice assignment is to pick a note between A and G. Let's pick G, and I want you to find those all on the piano. So there's G, there's G, there's G. Now let's say you forget where in relation to the group of 3 black keys they are. Well, you find C, and then in that case you can count backwards. And C, you should just memorize, really get in your head where C is, especially middle C, right in the middle of the piano. And you just go back to, and there's A, and then you go back. What happens if you go back before A in the music alphabet? Well, it goes back in a loop, right? So you go to the last note in the music alphabet, which is G in that case, and then F. So as a way to check yourself, use the counting up and down from C. But in terms of figuring out where these notes are, I would memorize definitely where they are in relation to those groups of black keys. Okay, let's talk about rhythm. All right, let me just say hi to people real quick. Okay, we got David here, new to piano. I've been teaching myself. Perfect, perfect. We got Mick here. Excellent. All right, we got a lot of new people here. So welcome out. Always free to come back and join us again. I would love to see that. Okay, let me get into rhythm here. Here we go. Perfect. All right. Let me change one thing. Hold on. There we go. Testing. Okay, now we're going to talk about rhythm. Now, as you notice, music is broken up into these boxes. You know, like there's one. Oops, kind of missed the line there. There we go. There's one. There's one. And it's broken up between these lines here, and those are called bar lines. And the things in between, these are called measures. It would help if I could spell measures right. M-E-A-S-U-R-E-S. So you can think of them as a measure of music. And in these measures or boxes, you can fit a certain amount of beats. And a beat is really just the amount of time it takes to count one. And the type of note you use to count one beat, at least for now, is going to be the quarter note. So we have one beat here. So one, you're going to count one there. You're going to count one for here, two. One for here, three. And one, excuse me, one for here, four. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you go to your piano, you're going to play on any note. Let's just say D, just to kind of get used to playing some notes as well. And you're just going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, hitting a note on each beat. Now we can't have any more beats in the measure than that. Now why is that? Well, this thing right here in the beginning, this number, the one number over the other number, let me circle that again, that is called the time signature. And the time signature tells you how many beats fit in each measure. Well, that's what the top number does. So 4 beats can fit in each measure. Now, the bottom number is a little bit more confusing for now anyway. Just know that if the bottom number is a 4, that means that the quarter note, this thing, is going to get 1 count. And most of the time signatures you're going to be learning in the beginning end with a 4. So thank goodness, because this will always equal 1, at least for now. You know, we're going to learn the rules before we learn about how they're broken or how they change. So 4 beats in a measure. What if we had, and that's called the time signature, by the way, just to make sure you got that. What if we change time signature to 3/4? Well, what does that change for us? Well, we have now, let me get this back here in full screen. So now the top number is a 3. So now we can only fit 3 of these quarter notes in each measure. So here we go. I'm just going to write it here, 2, 3. I can't fit any more in that measure. If I wanted to fit another 4th beat, it would have to go into a new measure where I could fit another 3 more. Make sense? So just remember that time signature, especially that top number, tells you how many counts or how many beats you can fit in each measure. And then so far, remember that this quarter note here, I'm going to explain more about that in a second. Every quarter note looks the same. It's filled in and it has a stem. So a note head, and then we have what's called the stem up here. Now, there are different types of notes. There's something called a half note now, which is worth 2 beats. So you're going to count 1, 2 there. And say I want to fill in the rest of this measure of 3/4. Well, how many total beats can I have? Well, 3, right? That's the 3/4 part. So we have 2 here, 2 beats here, and then you just say, you know, what do I need to equal 3? Well, 2 plus 1 is 3, right? So You just draw, well, you don't have to draw, but a quarter note would do just perfect there. Now we have 3 beats there. And you would count that on your piano. You know, we're just going to play it on, let's play it on an A. Where do you find A? Well, C's here, then B, then A right there. So you're going to count 1, 2, 3, just like that, because this first one is a half note. 1, 2, 3, just like that. Let me move this down a little bit. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we're in a new measure here, and let's say we want to do a dotted half note now. There's something called, and by the way, all half notes are an open circle instead of a closed one. So that's how you figure that out. Now, a dotted half note is when you take a half note and you put a dot on it. I know, it's real clever. And now it's worth 3 beats. So just know that the quarter note's worth 1, this guy. The half note's worth 2, this one, and then the dotted half is 3. Just like that. So if we're filling in this measure here, say we're the composer, can I fit any other notes in that measure? Well, no, right? I can only have 3 beats total, so I can't fit in any more beats there. Now, what if we went back to 4/4 for a second? Just like that. And I had a dotted half note. How many more beats can I fit in that measure? Well, we have 3 taken up, right? So we can still fit in another quarter note. Just like that. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like that. And you can play that. Let's play that on a C this time. Hopefully you remember where C is. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're hitting this one right as you count 1. Hold it over for 2, 3, which equals 3 total beats, and then 4, just like that. Exclusive to 4/4 time signature is the whole note. Well, it does exist in other places, but for now, a whole note gets 4 beats. Now, why couldn't I use that in 3/4? Well, 3/4 only has 3 beats, and you need 4 beats for this one. So it cannot fit in a measure of 3/4 since the box or the measure cannot fit it. So now you have the whole note. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're just hitting it right on beat 1 and you're holding it then for 4 counts. Another thing to keep in mind is tempo. So I can count this 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's 4 counts, or I can count it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's still 4 counts either way. Both are technically correct, but the tempo is actually how fast you're going to be counting the beats. And the thing about tempo is that it is consistent. It can change in a piece, but it's not going to change like in the middle of a measure or in the middle of counting. So what I'm not going to do is go 1, 2, 3, 4. See how that was uneven? Or 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it needs to be nice and even. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice and even. Bump, 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 bump. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, where the distance between all the counts is equal. So just know tempo is your rate of speed. Okay, I'm trying to think whether we should get in counting any more than that. I think I'm going to introduce eighth notes, and then we're probably going to move on to the next thing, because eighth notes is starting to move into a little bit outside of what we want to cover today. Okay, now I'm going to explain eighth notes. Now, an eighth note, you've seen these before probably if you've ever looked at a sheet of music. That's not what I meant to write. There we go. So you've probably seen these guys before. And these, by themselves, if I chop this other one off, this is going to get half of a beat. So now you have what looked like a quarter note. Actually, I'll take the flag away. So that looks just like a quarter note because it is a quarter note right now. But if you add what's called a flag to it, like that, it becomes an eighth note. Now, it's only worth half of a beat. But the thing I want to tell you is that eighth notes are often paired in groups of two. So you're not always going to see them like that. You're probably going to see them more often like this. So just know that they're the same thing. They just happen to be grouped into groups of two. And if you think about it, that makes sense, right? Because now that if we're breaking up each beat into halves, you need two halves to equal a whole beat. So think about it. How many eighth notes are we going to have in a measure of 4/4 if we just fill it out with just plain eighth notes? Well, if we had 4 quarter notes and now each of them is worth a half, that means we have twice as many to get each beat. So far we really only have beats 1 and 2 here. So we can honestly have another 4 eighth notes for 8 total. So let me write that out. There we go. Just going to do it easy with the copy and paste there. Okay, now how on earth do you count this? Well, let's make it easy. Let's count out our 4 beats. Here's 1. Remember, that's the second half of beat 1. There's 2. There's the second half of beat 2. Here's 3. That's the second half of beat 3. And 4. Now the question is, now that we have all 4 beats, how do we account for the other half of a beat? Well, use this little plus sign. Wait, that's not what I meant to draw. Here you go. Little plus sign right here. Now, we call that and. So we're going to count that as 1 and. Now we're going to have 2 and, 3 and 4 and. So now instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, we're counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Just like that. This is confusing to you, don't worry. It will come with time. But just keep going over this lesson a few times, and it will start to make more and more sense. All right, let's get on to the next topic. First, let me check in to see how everybody is doing here. Hey, Leah, we have LeBeau Weedy back once again, everybody. An old-time awesome student of ours. Perfect. How are you doing? Okay, I've been teaching myself major and minor scales for a couple of days now on the chords too. That's perfect, David. We're going to talk a little bit about chords here. All right, Nyan, we won't be covering the placement of chords today, but I do have lessons on that, so I can link you to one of those when we're later on. Just remind me once I'm finished the main part of the lesson. Do I have a suggestion on how to read music? Yeah, so I will be covering that here in a second for sure. Good. Can you please cover dotted note and explain how to count it saying plus? Okay. Or and. I mean, dotted note was 16th note as in silent night. Or you mean dotted quarter eighth note probably. Yeah, you know what? I can do that because we're still on the rhythm part for sure. Okay, let me explain this, everybody. Okay, so a student had asked us about how do you count a dotted quarter note. These ones are a little bit tricky. And, you know, maybe if you're in your first few weeks, I wouldn't try to tackle too many of these. Okay, so before I can answer how to count a dotted quarter note, we must answer how long is a dotted quarter note going to be. Well, if you remember the dotted half note back here, it got 3 counts, and the half note got 2 counts, wherever it is. Back here a little bit. There we go. There's 2, and then this one is 3. So what does the dot do exactly? Well, the dot does this. The dot will add half of the note's value back to itself. So if I just made your brain explode, I apologize, but seriously, this is how simple it is. So a quarter note, forget about the dot for a second. If we just had a quarter note, it would be worth 1 beat, right? The half makes it 1.5 beats because you're taking half of 1 and you're adding it back to 1. And that's why a dotted half note is worth 3 counts, because without the dot it's worth 2. And what's half of 2? 1, right? So 2 plus 1 is 3. So that's exactly why a dotted half note gets 3 and a dotted quarter note only gets 1.5. So now the question is, how in the world do you count 1.5 beats? Well, here you go. You're going to do it this way. You're going to go 1, and. Remember that when we were counting out the eighth notes, one and this actually only equals a quarter note, equals one beat. So there you go. We got the one part taken care of. One thing I want to tell you actually back here again is that now each of these, the number and the and after it, only represent half of a beat each. Makes sense? Since together they equal one, now they each only represent half. So it's going to take up one, there's half, plus and, that's another half, and it's also going to take up the first part of beat 2, because now that represents a half. So you have a half plus a half is a whole, plus a half is 1.5. So if you're counting this out, you're going to hit the dotted quarter and count 1 and 2, and then and is actually going to fall over there. 1 and 2 and. Now never mind that these aren't spaced evenly. That's just kind of how it wrote out. Just count them easily, evenly. 1 and 2 and, just like that. Okay, here we go. Perfect. Okay. Moving right along here, guys and gals. The next essential topic you need to learn is how to read music. So let me show you how it's done. Okay, if you notice here, we have what's called the staff, which are these lines. See, line, there's a line, 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 line. So we have 5 lines in total. And then you also have spaces in between those lines. There's a space, there's a space, there's a space. Just knowing that it's a space because no line is going right through it. If there's a line going exactly right through the middle, then that note is on a line. Makes sense? So lines and spaces, 5 lines and 4 spaces in between those lines. And we have 2 sets. We have a set up here in the treble clef, which is that symbol all the way to the left. First, strangely, let me go back here. Hold on. It's right here. Wait, hold on. So that is your treble clef, and this is your bass clef. This one up here is going to be played with your right hand. This one down here, at least 99% of the time, is going to be played with your left hand. So top is treble, bottom's bass. And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense because when you have a car stereo or a stereo of any kind, and you have notes way up here where your right hand would play, they're real trebly, meaning they're high. And then down here with the bass clef, they are bass, meaning low. So if you sing in a choir and you have a low voice, like I do, you're going to be singing the bass part. Okay, now how do you read music? Well, depending on what line or space a note falls under, I'm just going to write them as whole notes for now. By the way, how many beats does a whole note get? Think about it. Leave in the comments maybe. It gets 4 beats. So depending on what line or space, here's a line. There's a space, line, space, line, space. They alternate going up, line, space, line. Tells you what note to play and also where on the piano to play that note. So what I always like to do is I like to memorize the lines. I think I will write these out as quarters actually. I like to memorize the lines and the spaces by themselves. Now to do this, it's very, very important that you remember this one thing. You're going to be counting from the bottom up to the top. If you use my little trick and you start counting from the top to the bottom, it will not work. And I'll show you why in a second. It'll be kind of obvious, I think. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to associate a saying with each of these with the first letter of each word in the saying corresponding to each note. So the one that I think is probably the most common ever is every, so E for every, so that bottom note is an E. Good, G. Boy, there's a B. Deserves, D. fries or fudge or some kind of treat with F in there. So the notes of the treble clef are E, this bottom one, G, B, D, and F right there. So that's why it's important to go from the bottom to the top and not the top to the bottom, because if you started this with E, well, that's not an E. I mean, that's just incorrect. So you got to go, make sure you go from the bottom to the top. So every good boy deserves fries. Okay, let's test it out. Make sure you're paying attention. If I have a note right here on the second line, what note is that? It's going to be a G, right, for every good. What if I move it up there? Well, now every good boy deserves what? Fries. So F. So that note's an F. What about down here? That note is an E. And what about in the middle here? Well, every good boy, right? So that's B, quite simply. One thing I want to show you really quick is where this E in particular, the bottom line, is on the keyboard. So you have middle C right here, which is actually on a line by itself down here. We'll talk more about that later. But here's E. E is literally the first E right above. I always call, by the way, this going above, up, or this going below or down, just to eliminate any confusion. But anyway, you have this first E here above middle C. The G after that is you're going to skip up 2 notes, F, G. So there's G. Now where would the middle line B be? Well, you just go up 2 more. There's B. D would be 2 up from there. There's D. And then F is 2 up from there. F. So as you can see, it starts from E, G, B, D, and F. So anytime you're going from line to line to line to line, we call that skipping, meaning that you're skipping over every other note. If they were going right in order, which would be line, space, that is what's called stepping. So this is stepping, and this is skipping. So you can use that to your advantage to read notes faster as well. Let's pick one note at a random here that we did. Where's this note? Well, what note is it, first of all? Every good, right? So here's every, E for every, and you just skip up 2 from G, right there. And just remember, this E is the first one above middle C. Okay, now let's talk about the spaces, because there's a real fancy saying for that. Well, let's go over what the spaces are first. The first one's F. The next one up is A. The next one up is C. The last one is E. Now, the question is, do I really need a saying for that? Because it just spells face. So just remember that the spaces of the treble clef spell face. And this F right here, the first one we're going to look at, is right above the E we just had. So you have F. Then A, you skip up 2. Probably noticing a pattern by now. The C, how far do you go up? You go up 2. There's C, and there's E. Therefore, these, the spaces, F-A-C-E, are skips from each other, since you're skipping over every other note. Now notice something, that the lines were E, G, B, D, and I don't really have enough fingers here, but F, and that the spaces were F, A, F, A, C, and E. Well, hey, those are the notes that we actually skipped over in the lines. So we were skipped over F, skipped over A, C, and E. So together, they make a straight line of music, kind of like this. Let me write in what happens if you put all the lines and spaces in the actual music. And yes, I know I have way too many beats in these measures, but I got to do it to show you guys. All right, here we go. So here's E. Then the next one's F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. See how when I put them all together that it made notes right in a row, which was called what, by the way? It was called stepping. Okay, so remember, lines of the treble clef Every good boy deserves fries. Take a screenshot of this, write it down, and the spaces spell face. Now we're only halfway there because we have this bass clef down here now to deal with and figure out. Well, it works the same way. You got lines and spaces. This time the lines are different, which I get a lot of grief about with my students. Why aren't they the same? But I don't know. I didn't invent this. It kind of makes sense, but we'll get to that a little bit later. But anyway, the lines of the bass clef, are G, B, D, F, A. So you can come up with any saying you want, but the one I like is great, big, dogs, fight, animals. But like I said, any saying you want. So G, let me get the piano in here. So you got, let me make sure it's all, you can kind of see it. Sorry, it cuts it off a little bit there, but G, B, D, F, and A. Notice anything familiar? You start in G, skip over A to B, skip over to D, we're skipping again. Just like we did with the lines of the treble clef, or just the spaces of the treble clef. Now the lines of the bass clef are as follows. A, C, E, and G, and I like the saying, all cows eat grass. Just like that. So all cows eat grass. A, C, let me show you where this is. A, C, E, G. Hey, they skip again. The thing to keep in mind with the bass clef so you don't get confused is understand that this G, the first G in the lines here, this one, is actually here on the piano. So it's not near middle C. It's not this first G near middle C. It's actually going to be the G before that. So practice finding that bottom line G, because if you start up here, you're gonna get messed up, and your right hand and left hand will collide, and the universe will fall apart. So you want not only the first G here, but one G set down, and then just know that they skip from each other. G, B, D, F, A. Spaces, that A in all cows eat grass, that's just right above that G right there. All cows eat grass. And then, of course, when you put them together again, I'm not going to write it out, they make stepping all the way, because the lines are right here, and then spaces are in between those lines like that. Okay, I'm going to get on to the next thing. Let me kind of check in with everybody. You're very welcome, Shailesh. All right, so here we go. We're going to continue here. I hope everybody's enjoying this. I think this is a great review for a lot of people who are new. And like I said, if you're lost, I'm going to give you a link here at the end to help you out. Okay, we kind of did the next one because we talked about how to find the notes on the piano. Okay, so here we go. We're going to talk about the next thingamajig. Here we go. Okay, now we're going to talk about finger numbers, because a lot of times in your music, it's gonna tell you not only to play, say the bottom line of the treble clef, which is what, by the way, E, right, for every. Remember, every good boy deserves fries, and the C is right here. Well, say they want you to not only play that E, but play that E with finger 1 or 5 or 3 or 2. You're gonna have to know what that's talking about. So here it's very simple. You have two hands, at least you probably do, and on each hand you probably have 5 fingers. Thumb, no matter which hand you are on, is finger number 1. So thumbs up for number 1. And then you're always going to count from thumb to your pinky on each hand. So you're not going to be counting to 10, but you're rather going to be counting to 5s on each hand. So thumb's number 1, Then the next finger out from there is 2. Then you got 3, middle. 4 is the ring finger. And 5 is the pinky. So no matter what hand you're on, the corresponding finger is always going to be the same. So if middle is finger 3 on the right hand, it's going to be finger 3 on the left hand. If thumb's number 1 on the left hand, it's going to be number 1 on the right hand. Now you just got to be careful that they're mirrored. That's where a lot of students will run into. So say you have a pattern on the piano that with your right hand wants you to play with fingers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then with your left hand, they want you to play the same notes. But it's not going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to hit those same notes. It's actually going to be in reverse. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Luckily, your music's going to do generally a pretty good job, I mean, depending on where you're getting your music from, of helping you figure that out. But just to let you know that, the numbers are the same, but they are mirrored. Okay, let's do some practice with everything we've learned so far. So let me get the staff back up for all of us, and then we're going to find some notes together, and we're going to play them with the correct finger. So here we go. I'm going to draw a note here. It's the bottom space of the treble clef. And what was the saying for that? Well, it wasn't a saying, right? It was the word face. So that has to be F, the first one in the word face. Now remember what I said, and let me elaborate on this, that right hand treble clef is basically from middle C up this way. Now, can you play notes with your right hand down here? Yes, but 95% of the time you're not. You're going to be playing from middle C up this way, because that's where that's the domain of the right hand. The domain of the left hand, or the range, is from middle C down that way, so you can hit the lower notes. So just keep that in mind. So the treble clef with this first F here, we're going to be talking about up this way. And as you probably remember, there was the bottom line E. So the F we want is right there. And let's hit that with finger 5 with our right hand. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Boom. There we go. So finger 5 is your pinky. Let's move it to a different one in the right hand. Then we'll do 2 examples with the left hand. So what note is that? Every good boy, what was it? Deserves, right? So you want to start on this E. There's every good boy deserves. So that's the D we want. Say we're going to play it with finger 1. So here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. So we hit the right note with the right finger. All right, let me do the left hand for the bass clef. Okay, so this is the top line of the bass clef. As you remember, it's great big dogs fight animals. Now the thing about the top of the bass clef is that it's going to be more towards the middle of the piano, since remember that bottom note G, this one down here, was way down there. And that's why I told you that, because then you go up to B, D, F, and A. You're actually working your way towards the middle, whereas when the treble clef goes up the staff, it's actually working away from the middle, since you're already there already. So anyway, that's A. And let's play that with finger 2 in our left hand. Well, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Boom. There's finger 2. Fingers 1 thumb. There's 2 right there. All right, let's do, let's say this note. Now, it's the second space of the bass clef. So remember, that's all cows eat grass. And the A you want, remember the G was right here that we wanted. So the A is right next to that. So all cows. So that's the C we want. And we're going to play it with finger 3. Ready? 3, 2, 1. There we go. So right with your middle right there. Okay. Let's get on to the next thing. We're doing pretty good here. Oh, I don't know if we'll get through all this, guys. I'm going to try, though, because it's kind of important that you know a lot of this stuff. All right. Just give me a second here, and we're going to talk about how to sit at the piano. Okay, it's also important that you know how to sit at the piano. So when you're sitting at the piano, you want to sit up straight, You don't want to be slouching down, which is something that I do. You'll probably notice me later in the lesson doing because I've been sitting in front of a computer for the last 30 years. As you know, you probably have, it's very common these days. And that kind of just teaches us bad posture because we have a screen down here and we kind of lean in towards it. But you want to be sitting up straight, but you don't want everything to be real tense. You don't want to be flexing or anything like that. You just want to be, your core muscles might be engaged a little bit, like your abs and stuff, to help you sit up straight. But you want to be sitting up straight, but you want your not elbows, shoulders, that's what they're called, to be gently at your side. You don't want to be like this because then you're tensing up. You want them to be relaxed. You don't want to be forcing them down either because that's tightening you up. You want to be nice and loose, but sitting up straight. You also want to be sitting far enough away from the piano. So I'm sitting about, 6 or 7 inches. I honestly could probably sit a little bit further back. The piano itself, the keys, I know you can't see everything from here. The keys are, a couple inches above my belly button. You don't want to feel like you have to reach for the keys either down or up. So you want it fairly level to where your hands, sit your hands on your lap and then kind of lift them up just a little bit. I mean, naturally where they lift up. You don't want to be lifting up like this. That's unnatural, but down here, that's generally where you want your piano to be. So again, the keys are to sit up straight, be sitting far enough away from the piano that's comfortable for you. If you're taller, you're going to want to sit further back. That's just the way it is. I'm not very tall, so I need, space to reach the keys and the pedals. So if you're real tall, you might have to sit back. If you're shorter than me, you probably have to sit a little bit closer. So this is going to be a little different depending on who you are. But what you want to do is just kind of like the first few weeks, adjust your bench, either up or down or maybe back and forth. And just find what is comfortable for you. See, I was already slouching, in just a couple of minutes because it's something, luckily I have a camera nearby, but you're probably going to want a mirror or something so you can see if you're slouching because it's really tempting to slouch. But if you slouch too much, first of all, it will inhibit your ability to play piano well because as you can see, the second that I slouch, my shoulders close in and I close in. You want to be nice and open with your chest and so you can play up and down the piano effectively. One of the most common things students do, especially when they play in front of teachers that they're not 100% comfortable with or that they're just nervous people like I am, they will tense up, or when they have a difficult part of a piece coming up. I'm getting better at not doing that. Say something really complicated is coming up and you know it, but what you're going to do is tense up, and that's actually just going to really inhibit your ability to play well. So sit up straight, nice and relaxed, and I recommend getting a mirror, a camera, or something so you can see how your posture is doing. Okay, let's do this. Hey, everybody. I'm going to say hi to some more people once we are further on in the lesson. Okay, now what did I want to do? That's right. Okay, you're going to want to learn about chords too. I'm not going to get super into it in this lesson since it's starting to get out of the scope of what we want to accomplish here. But the things you want to know about chords in the beginning is basically what they are. And a chord is when you play 2 or more notes at a time. And the most common type of chord you're going to learn in the beginning is what's called a triad, meaning that it has 3 notes. Like a triangle has 3 points, 3 sides. Triceratops has 3 horns. The triad has 3 notes. There's several different types. There's one that sounds happy. That is what's called a major triad. There's one that sounds sad. That's a minor triad. So I'm going to play one. And now does it sound happy or sad to you? It's going to take some getting used to. Some of you might even think that sounds sad, but let me play the alternative. Oh, that's the sad one, right? So remember, major is happy, minor is sad. And that a 3-note chord is a triad, and a chord it looks like this when you're playing multiple notes at one time, usually 2 or more. You can obviously have chords with your left hand as well, major and minor. There's some others. There's the diminished chord, which sounds crunchy, and it sounds mysterious, or not mysterious, but like the train in those old black and white movies. This train is coming for you is the diminished chord, and then augmented kind of has a mysterious sound to it. So just remember major, happy, minor, sad, and then if you want, diminished really is scary, and augmented also scary, but has a little bit more of a mysterious sound to it. Let me write some of these out on the staff just so you know what a chord is going to look like when you come across one. So there's a chord. You play the bottom note, the middle note, and the top note, and you play them all at once. One thing I want to tell you is that if notes are stacked vertically, like this, that's called harmony, by the way. But more importantly, that means you're going to be playing those notes all at once. If the notes, instead of being written out stacked like a snowman like that, stacked one on top of another, if they're written out separately, kind of like we had when we were doing the lines and spaces, that is what we call melody. There's a little bit more to that explanation, but we call that melody. And that basically means you're hitting the note one at a time. So remember, harmony is basically when you're playing a full chord, and a melody is when you're hitting the notes separately. You'll see them separated like this rather than being stacked on top of one another. Another thing you're going to come across a lot are half steps and whole steps. And this is, you're going to find this a lot in music theory and scales and things like that. So very simple explanation. You have a note, then you can go up to the black key, white key, and alternate going up each note on the keyboard. We call that half steps. So if you go from a note and you go to the very next note touching it, that is called a half step. Up a half step again, up a half step again, up a half step again. Then you just got to be careful that between E and F, because there's no black key, that's just a half step, because those two keys are touching. They have to be touching to be half steps. So F to F sharp, and that's going up half steps. Whole step, by the way, those are also called semitones, in case somebody is ready to write me an angry comment. Those are also called semitones. A whole step is when you put two half steps together. So instead of going here, which would be a half step, you go to the next key right there. That's just a whole step. If you go up for a whole step from D, you're not going to go here. You're going to go up one more. Say you want to go up a whole step from E. Well, it wouldn't be F. It would be what we call F sharp, because there's no black key there. So this is a half step, and that's a whole. And then the next whole steps are from here to here to here, because you're skipping the half steps in between. So just know, and by the way, those are called whole tones. So half steps or semitones is when you go right in order with each individual note touching each other. And a whole step is when you're doing two half steps combined into one. It's a little different than skips and steps, because stepping can actually be whole steps or half steps, depending on where they lie. Another thing you're going to see a whole lot about are scales. And real quickly, I'm not going to tell you all the scales and what they are, just so you know what they are. A scale is when you put all of the notes in a key, which I haven't defined yet, but you put all the notes in a key from beginning to end, and they go right in a row like this. So this is the C major scale. You start on C, you go up to the next note, next note, next note, next note, next note, next note, back up to the other C. Unfortunately, none of the other scales work like that, where they're real easy, like right in a row, like that without any black keys in there. But just know that the C major scale is that. There's a formula for all major scales, and that's you start on the note, then you're going to go up a whole step, go up another whole step, you're going to go up a half step, you're going to go up whole step, whole step, and half step. So again, the formula is you start on your note, you go up 2 whole steps, 1 half step, then 3 whole steps, and then a half step. So 2 whole steps half, 3 whole steps half. Just like that. Okay, let me think about anything else that you guys might want to know before you really start playing piano. Let me get to the chat again, see how everybody's doing. Hello, I am Maya Radvinsky. Hello, Maya. Glad to have you on the channel here. I'm a working sax player. Off topic, I know I should study I know, but what should I study? How to back up pop sing. Am I in the right class here? Not for that topic, unfortunately. What you should learn how to do, honestly, is look up something called accompaniment. ACCOMPIMENT. I think I spelled that right. I'm not sure. Accompaniment. That's what you want to learn to be able to back people up. Things like that. Okay, is everybody good so far? We don't seem to have any questions, which is great. And let me do a couple of things for you guys. Let me get a couple of things ready here so I can explain where to go from here. There we go. Okay, so now you're probably going to want to be putting all these skills to the test, really getting to practice them, really trying to find songs to learn that will put all of these things to work. Well, what I want to tell you is that over on my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com, I have over 20 courses designed to help you learn about piano and music. So unlike just like today's lesson, which is an instructional video, with these courses you're going to get instructional videos, plus you're going to have notes you can follow along with, worksheets, real sheet music to play. So like I said, it's all about actually putting these things into practice. These are great for beginners who need a solid foundation, or those if you have experience already and you want to advance your skills, you can do that as well. And you can learn about piano, music theory, improvisation, rhythm, ear training, and pretty much anything I thought you would need to be a well-rounded musician. You can read the rest. One thing I want to tell you is that if you're just starting out, I have courses. They come in course packages. You can buy the courses individually, but I really recommend the packages because they will help you at whatever level you're currently at. So say you're just starting out. Say you watch today's lesson and you really need to know where to go from here, really how to start putting these ideas to use. You want to check out this beginner's pack. It has 4 courses bundled together. These courses normally are $29.99 a piece, so you're getting 4 for $39.99, which is a heck of a deal. And the 4 courses you're going to get is Introduction to Piano Music, Learn to Read Music, Playing the Piano Level 1, and Music Theory Level 1. And these are really taking all the topics we took today, fleshing them out, giving you like things to practice, so you really get a solid understanding on how this stuff works. If you want to find out what each course does or what you're going to cover, you just click on it, and it's going to take you to the course description page where you can read about it. There's a sample lesson here from the course. You're going to get, what songs you're going to learn in the course, and then down here you can see, what packs that this course is part of. It's also part of the all course pack. So if you want the best deal and you want all the courses working through beginner, intermediate, or advanced, check that one out. But the beginner's pack is really what I recommend you go for if you are, if you're basically watching today's lesson wondering where to go from here. If you're into something a little bit more advanced, you can check out the intermediate pack. Now you may notice they cost a bit more, but they include a lot more courses. You're getting 9 courses now instead of just those 4. And you can click on any course you want, read more about it, and take your time figuring out, what's right for you. But like I said, for today, the beginner's pack is probably where you want to go, or the all course access. And if you have any questions, you can email me, tim@lessonsontheweb.com, and I'd be more than happy to help you out. Okay, now I want to give, I also want to give you guys a link here. Give me a second, everybody, or a couple of seconds. I want to give you also a link to a series I created on YouTube that's for free. But keep in mind that these will walk you through these subjects slower than what we did tonight. So if you felt we went too fast, you want to check these out. But keep in mind, these are still just lessons. I'm not really going to be giving you pieces to practice or anything like that. Or I might be giving you like one thing to practice per lesson, but nothing too crazy. So just give me a minute and let me get you guys a link to that, because I think you're going to find that really helpful. Let's see here. Not that one. Is it this one? Yes. Here we go. All right, I'm going to be giving you a link right now. Learn to play piano series on YouTube. So if you want to go through things slower and a nice review, that's what you want to check out. And I'm going to give you guys a link to my courses. Which you can find right there. Hello, we have Salvi. Hello, sir. I am S. Salvi. Hello. Welcome out. Happy to have you with us. And I notice a lot of new people here tonight, so thank you so much for coming. We're really, really glad to have you with us, and really happy that you're all here. Yeah, DB fan, I remember you asking me a question about this. I forget what I hope I replied to you, because I definitely saw your question. No, I did, because I was talking about a lesson I did. Can you please make a video on how to play fast strings and notes? I'm not going to play the video on the stream here. It's probably the same video you sent me before. I believe it was an Indian music type of music, if I'm not mistaken. And you were talking about how to play those fast runs and notes. And I did do a few lessons similar to this. Let me find one for you guys. It's called Fast Runs and Fills. I think this will help. This is more of an improv lesson, though. But let me get you this. Fast Runs and Fills. All right. Hello, Salvi. How are you doing today? Glad to have you with us. Let's see here. Barbara says hi. Hello, Barbara. Thank you very much for explaining the dotted note. You're welcome. But DB fan, I can make a lesson on that in the future. I do have the lessons kind of blocked out for the next couple of weeks, though. All right, and then while I'm getting maybe some more questions in, let me show you, guys, something else on my website. I mentioned this way early in the lesson, but in case you missed it, if you go to my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com, you click on Community here and you scroll down. You can see what we're talking about and when over the next few weeks. But what I really recommend you do is fill out this little form here. It's on the community page. And you fill out your name and email, and you're going to get an email reminder 30 minutes before we meet. So I highly recommend you take advantage of that if you want to attend on a regular basis. All right, let me do, because we're over the hour, which is fine. I kind of knew that this would run over a little bit, which is okay. And yeah, I mean, I might add a little bit more to this when I post the video, but I think this is a good time to start concluding and wrapping this up. So here we go. Let me get right here and do an outro here. So if you want, so if you're ready to take these skills to the test, go to my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com. check out the courses there. If you still want to be learning over here on YouTube, I do have a series of lessons called the Learn to Play Piano series. It's the first series I put out here on YouTube. The videos are a little older, but still good. They'll walk you through these same topics, but just a little bit slower. But the website will really, really help you get an iron grip on these topics. Because like I said, not only do you get videos, you also get real sheet music to play and assignments and a lot of other things dealing with these topics so you can learn them rock solid. This has been your piano teacher, Tim here. Thanks for coming out today for the lesson. I'm going to check you out in the next lesson, and thank you so much. All right, everybody, I'm still here, but I think I am going to start closing out. So do you have any other last-minute comments or prepared? I think is going to be great. But Sunday, the same time we met today, so 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll meet. So it's very normal for your left hand to not work as well as your right hand, especially if you're right-handed, right? Because your left hand's not going to be quite as strong. So let me get you a link here, and then I'm going to say hello to Charles here. There you go. So check out this left-hand lesson I made. As a nice exercise that you can practice that will hopefully at least help start catching up your left hand to your right hand. Happy Thanksgiving, says Barbara. Thank you very much. Hopefully I'll see you on Sunday, but you never know. Like last week, I had a cable that was broken, and the camera, you know, I either couldn't have the piano camera work or the camera that you could see me with, and I thought like without either of those it would just be a bad lesson, so I had to cancel. But hopefully Sunday this time it'll work out. Charles says, I'm Jonesy here. Great class, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Charles, or Jonesy. Thanks, Tim, you're very welcome. Helvenek. All right, everybody, you have a great one. This has been your piano teacher, Tim, here. It's been a pleasure teaching you again, and I'll see you again on Sunday.